Episode 7 trailer. You may, of course, watch it on your own time and in your own way, but people have not only requested that I do a look at and analysis on this trailer, but also that you get my live reactions. Normally I mute myself and then watch it, and then I go back and reanalyze it, but instead, now we will be giving a live reaction. If you do not wish this trailer spoilered, now would be a fantastic time to shut this down, at least until I start streaming again, and get back to some Final Fantasy IV. You now have your warning. I'm going to give you a few more seconds. And I'm going to turn up the volume just a bit. We're going to unmute it here. And we're going to hit play. Okay, that's her. Ah, damn.
Who are you?
I'm no one.
I was raised to do one thing. But I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. A Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in.
That was a really well done trailer. Oof. Excuse me. First and foremost, I mean, literally my first thought. It is interesting to me that something that, especially in the EU, but especially when it comes to us, the viewers, we have always taken as writ. We have always assumed the truth is the truth because it is. We've seen it. We saw it happen. We read the books. We watched the movies. We've seen it, right? But in universe, all it is stories. They weren't there at the fall of the first Death Star. They weren't there in the trench like we were. They weren't there when Thrawn was defeated at Bilbringi. They weren't there when Exar Kun was arisen on Yavin 4. None of that is something that they know of. We know that. So I like the idea that the normal people, that other people, have only ever heard tales, legends, if you will, of how things came down. It's the kind of thing that the EU actually has expanded on several times. You would not believe the levels of spin doctoring that happen, both intentional and unintentional, in the EU. I'm not even just talking about during the Empire's reign. You should see some of the stuff the New Republic gets up to. It's insane. The Old Republic did this too, by the way. So that's the first thing that I noticed about that. Yeah. See you around, Dravo. Also, I like the idea that the very concept of Jedi Force users has gotten to the point where that's also uncommon, to the point of rare, to the point of stories. The very idea that you have to actually say something like the Jedi are real. You know what I mean? Because it's become so commonplace in the modern era, in the era that this movie is taking place in, that there is no Force. You know, one of the things I liked most about the original trilogy was the idea that Luke could use the dark side without really delving into it like his father did. I've used this analogy before, and I'll use it again. He tipped his toe into the dark side. And he could do that frequently. It was one of the reasons why Luke is basically the prototype of the Grey Jedi. Now, that being said, I find it interesting that the gentleman, I can't think of his name, the guy playing the Stormtrooper, wielding the lightsaber. I'm just picturing all of a sudden the movie, people bringing the Force back into the equation, and it's a bad thing. But one person can bring the Force back without delving too deeply into it. And that is, of course, him, Finn. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm probably reading way too much into that, but my mind is still processing. The way Abrams is, I've said it before, he's actually a good director. And he knows his stuff. He knows how to do the kind of implications through angles kind of a thing that most directors don't even know what that is anymore. And if you see the way he shoots those scenes and the way certain characters are shot, and we're going to go through this one more time with our finger on the pause button this time. But this intro, excuse me, this intro is flawless. I hope John Williams actually did the intro to this trailer, because the music for it, I mean, because he's, yeah. This is his style. It starts off exactly like a movie like this should start off. You remember how the Episode 1 trailers were? Big, boisterous, yay, Star Wars is coming back. Now, this is a dark story. I tell you right now, Episode 7 is going to be a dark story. It is going to begin in darkness, as a movie like this should. Because in a standard format, the first establishes, the second gives depth and ends darkly. The second is the dark piece, the third is the epic conclusion. But this is not the first movie in this, is it? It's the seventh. And the seventh movie should begin in darkness. It should begin with everything wrong, so that everything can be fixed. Not in the first movie. In this movie, I predict this will be a bittersweet movie. And it will end with hope for the future and nothing more. The next movie, that's when we can start working on actually fixing things. But this, the whole way this intro works, gets that across brilliantly.
Who are you?
I want to stress this again, by the way. The Galactic Empire, even in the movies, did a decent amount of good to the galaxy. Unified the galaxy in ways virtually no one else has ever managed across galactic history. And again, even in the movies that's true. Now, in the EU that is absolutely true. In the EU that is hard fact and canon. But I mention that because the fall of the Empire does not mean the good guys won. I have talked about this a dozen times before. What's the difference between saving a world, or a galaxy, or whatever, and fixing it? The former means stopping the Darkspawn. The latter means putting the pieces of the world back together. So, okay, we stopped Palpatine. He needed to be stopped. We redeemed Vader. He needed to be stopped. Now what? This is one of the reasons the Heir to the Empire trilogy was so successful. The Heir to the Empire trilogy was literally, now what? This is what now what means.
I'm no one.
This is what now what means. Right here. The idea of having to build something new out of the ashes. Have any of you seen what happened in World War II? And why Germany went in that direction so hard? It wasn't because Germans were evil. That's stupid. It was because of how badly World War I ended. How badly do you think the Empire lost? How bad do you think this situation is for the Imperials? How many new people are born into this new generation and are being persecuted because of what the Empire did 20 years ago?
I was raised to do one thing. But I've got nothing to fight for.
Also, that line right there says volumes. Also, I want to talk about that shot. We'll talk about that in a moment. That line there, right there, I was raised... that's good writing, by the way. I was raised to do one thing, and now I've got nothing to fight for. He never actually directly says what he was raised to do. It's good writing to imply this. It's good writing to leave the pieces there so the audience immediately mentally puts it together. He was born to fight. He was raised to fight. He was trained to fight, but he has nothing to fight for. And immediately we're left with two questions. One, why? Why was he raised to fight? Why was he raised to do nothing but combat? And two, why does he have nothing to fight for? Is it because he has lost faith in whatever he's fighting for? Or more likely, if you can forgive me for being blunt, is it because there was nothing worth fighting for at all now? Is it because now there is no grand empire? There is no great evil. There is no good guys and bad guys. Just bickering nations using the shreds and scraps of the Alliance and of the Empire and fighting amongst themselves. Is that a reason worth fighting for? Because that doesn't seem like one to me. He's probably tired of it. Also, this is the new SSD. I don't think they've named it yet, but I've seen it. That's clearly and distinctly the new the new Star Destroyer up there.
But I've got nothing to fight for.
Oh, right, I wanted to talk about that really quick. This is great. This is New Vegas. Or not New Vegas, excuse me. This is Las Vegas. You may not be aware of this, but back when they were actually shooting the shot of Mos Eisley, they shot a shot near the Imperial Desert of a chunk of Vegas, which pretty much looked exactly like that. I should know, I've actually been there in real life. I have several family who lives in Vegas. Obviously, Vegas looks nothing like that now, but in the 70s, this is what it looked like. So they have actually bothered to go out of their way and recreate the visual appearance of Vegas from the 70s, specifically for this purpose, which is awesome. Also, you remember how I've been talking about remakes like for the last several days because we've been going through one of them? Final Fantasy 4DS? You know what you do with a remake? What a remake is taking the original, maintaining the core essence of the original, and working on it, and actually fleshing it out to make it more modern, better, whatever, right? So what I mean by that is this. That is a remake. That TIE fighter right there. Watch it again as it goes by. It is clearly and distinctly a TIE fighter. All the core elements of a TIE fighter are there, and yet every single bit of it has been improved.
Nothing to fight for.
God, I love this music.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
Now, here's an interesting question. What did Vader start? Now, I know what you're going to say. Here's the actual question to be asked. What does he think Vader started? You remember what I said earlier about how people don't know what actually happened? That's even true in the EU, by the way. And again, this is a wonderful thing that they do. There's a scene where people are all like, "Oh my God!" This is a very basic example of this, but oh my God, Luke, you have actually defeated Darth Vader. You're the guy who beat Darth Vader. Luke himself being like, well, that's not actually true, but of course they weren't there for that. All people know is the legend, right? So what is the legend of Vader? What did Vader actually begin? Now, I need to listen to one more thing really quick.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
Okay, I don't think that's Hamill. But Hamill has really good voice acting chops, so it might be. But I don't think that's Mark Hamill. One other thing I will point out, Vader's helmet is obviously very badly damaged, mostly from burning. In other words, from the funeral pyre. Now, it is worth noting that he could be virtually anyone who has picked up this helmet from the funeral pyre. And I say that knowing that there's not much I can analyze there. There's so much possibility as to how he could have gotten that helmet. I mean, there's a ton of different ways he could have gotten that helmet. He could have been part of the Rebel Alliance. He could have been one of the Empire troops there. He could have been a renegade who found out about it and went to try and find it. Blah, 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 blah. There are plenty of methods by which he could have gotten the mask. I can't extrapolate on that. All I will say is I like the fact that it distinctly looks burnt and melted because it should. Because funeral pyre. I know that's a weird thing to point out, but it's a small detail, and it proves that they are willing to pay attention to what has already happened, ironically, considering they're throwing the EU out, in order to acknowledge it and move forward with it. The fact that that actually has melted is a significant point. Here's a question. Who is that? Now, I don't really want the real answer here, obviously. But the point is, this guy is only seen in the entire trailer, at least that I saw, for one scene. And it's this one. What do you think is being done to him here? Now, the implication is obvious. Something is being done destructively towards his brain or whatever. Given the fact that Clone Wars is considered canon, we know what happens to a mind when someone tries to forcibly rip information from it. So I think that's showcasing the lengths and levels that our villain is willing to go to in order to accomplish whatever goal he cares about. Also, this scene right here I'd almost guarantee is some kind of showcasing of the new super weapons destruction. Notice how they only show it for a millisecond, by the way.
There are stories about what happened.
I have a question for you while we're on the subject. Why is a Star Destroyer over Tatooine? Now, this may sound like an odd question, but think about this for a moment. What is so significant about Tatooine as to be worth fighting over it? Well, the answer is nothing. I'll just go and tell you that right now. There's nothing actually relevant about Tatooine that is worth sending a Star Destroyer, especially, by the way, I hate to geek out a moment. This is an Imp Star. I'm not sure if it's a Mark 1 or a Mark 2.
There are stories about...
Hard to tell from that shot right there. But either way, that is clearly an Imp Star. Oh, apparently this is not Tatooine. I have no idea what Jakku is. And don't care then.
What happened?
Don't care.
It's true.
Never mind though. I will move on.
All of it.
Ugh, damn it, I can't go 3 seconds without having to pause it. So you notice they're looking at a star map here. I could just explode on the fact that they're looking at a star map. Hang on. I need to watch something again here in a moment.
All of it. The dark side. The Jedi. They're real.
Oh.
The Force. It's
Okay.
calling to you.
Okay. I get it. That's what I thought. Shit. So you notice the woman is the one saying, the Force is calling to you, just let it in. Okay. I don't want anyone to confirm or deny this. And I don't even know how to explain how this fits in my head. But the story is about how the galaxy has lost its way due to the absence of the Force guiding it. The galaxy is a war-torn place, which is just slightly broken as a result of everything that's been happening. The Imperial remnants being wiped out, the Alliance fighting whoever happens to go against them, becoming a new corrupt power, etc., blah, 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 blah. With the absence of the Force, with Luke in hiding, with Leia not doing anything, because the EU is not canon, so Leia doesn't actually have Force powers, and with nobody wielding the dark side, the galaxy is wrong. And so this story is going to be about the Force awakening and returning to the galaxy. The funny thing is I didn't even think about the significance of the Force Awakens title there until I literally looked at the screen and saw Force Awakens on my screen. I don't even know how to explain how that fits in my head. Watching this sequence of events here just really fleshed it out.